Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. This week, we review Don't Look Back, and this is from the guys behind Final Destination. Hang out. We're going to do our first impressions. We're going to talk about the film a little bit. And in the end, we're going to give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. That's what you want to stick around for, because that's where the money's at. Yep. Dollar bills, yo. All right. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead girl. How you doing, girl?
I'm pretty good. I'm just, looking back.
Yep. You got your ears on, I see.
Totally.
No. All right. Oh, there's going to be a lot of rewinding there. All right. Let's find out. Also joining us is Dave Dreher. How's that?
No rewinding here. No rewinding.
All right.
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing well. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to be reviewing Don't Look Back. What's Don't Look Back? All right. Don't Look Back is in theaters on demand October 16, 2020. So by the time you're hearing this, it is out there and available. It is from the creator of Final Destination. And karma is coming for us all. You could just replace that with, hey, it's 2020. Director, writer is Jeffrey Reddick. The cast includes Kourtney Bell, Bryan, Batt, Will Stout, Skyler, Hart, Jeremy Holm, Jaqueline Fleming, Amanda Grace Benitez, Damon Lipari, Han Solo. I was going to do that.
Han Solo.
Dean J. West. It would be interesting if it was Han Solo, but no, it's Han Soto. And Stephen Twardokus.
You were doing so well, too.
I was. This was a good list. Stephen, what the hell? All right. The synopsis is Jaqueline Kramer, a woman overcoming a tragic past, is among several people who see a man being fatally assaulted. When the witnesses start dying mysteriously, she must unearth if they're being targeted by a killer or something far more insidious. That's the film. All right. What we're going to do is dive into our first thoughts, our first impressions. And Dave, you're up first.
Yay.
Hey. Jeffrey Reddick directed this one. He was the driving force behind Final Destination. And it definitely shows because this is kind of basically Final Destination. We got the same driving force here. We have a woman who has a near-death experience. When she awakens, she discovers that she now can see things. She witnesses another brutal attack. I guess we can call that a brutal attack, can't we?
Yes.
Deadly
even.
Yes. And then all the people who also witnessed it with her in this park or wherever they're at begin mysteriously die, much like in the Final Destination movies. Very, very similar. This time, instead of death, we have karma that is the bad guy. Unfortunately, it's not Tony Todd playing karma, because that might have been good. This isn't, and that's a little misleading. This isn't a horrible film. It's not. It's just very, very similar to Final Destination. Very, 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 very.
So you're saying it's very, very similar. Is that what okay. All right.
It could be. How many Final Destinations did they make? There was a shitload of them.
6, I think.
Yeah. Well, this could be 7.
I would imagine there's another one on the way. All right, Crystal, what is your first impression of Don't Look Back?
So, I loved Final Destination, but I had a big issue with this movie, and the issue is mainly a super disjointed story. I feel like the plot was pieced together. Information didn't come when it should have. It seemed like an afterthought. A lot of things felt like they were afterthoughts instead of a cohesive story. It was really strange how the whole thing was written out. even when she had her near-death experience, I'm assuming from the beginning scene, uh, it really wasn't even touched upon until later in the movie, which I think is super weird. I'm like, oh, okay, now you're trying to bring this up now to your therapist, which is a weird and awkward scene. Then her boyfriend decides to tell all of her mental trauma to a police officer. It's just the way that they put her at the scenes is, oh, God, it just drives me crazy. I feel like the story is this movie's biggest fault. The fact that she's going to go with Luke 10:27 and equate it to her birthday, which would be 8:27, drives me crazy. Just because it's a 27 doesn't mean anything. That's just
wasn't there a movie?
silly.
Wasn't there a Jim Carrey movie called The Number 27 that was similar?
Just so weird how she would
29.
even make that
Was it
connection.
29?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. It's just such a weird connection for her to make. I feel like it was a stretch. I mean, and now of course you know what they were really going for toward the end, which is fine, I guess. It's just the story was honestly kind of silly. And there was no big reveal at the end. I mean, it's obvious. It's silly and obvious. And I think that it was the cinematography was good. I think there were elements that could have made this a very successful movie, but the story fought against itself. I mean, one of the characters kicked her out of his house, and yet while she's on her way home, she's going to decide to call him and check on him, which is just odd. It shows, I mean, I guess she is mentally unstable, but that definitely shows mental instability. Then gets disconnected. She decides to turn around and go back and just walks right in his house. Someone she doesn't even, it's just insane. That's just crazy. I mean, it's silly. It's just silly.
Just silly. All right. The film is the number 23. So we all know
that's
wrong.
it. 23.
23.
I knew it was a number and it was in the 20s. I was
Yes, yes. I went up. It should have been down. This film is sadly a little underwhelming. Technically it's fine. It's shot well. I mean, this is his first directorial feature. He's done a couple shorts, and I think he did a fine job filming it. I also had problems with the story. I thought it was a little all over the place. I didn't feel like it had enough punch, so it was a little weak. At the same time, I wasn't bored by it, and I didn't, I didn't walk out going, I hate, Sometimes you see these movies and you're like, I hate to watch that movie. It just didn't carry itself really well, and it's unfortunately a bit forgettable, and maybe predictable. There are, this supernatural element in here that can be brought to the surface, this karma aspect. And I don't know.
Here's the thing. The problem is you don't care about the characters enough to care about karma. And if you don't care about the characters, then you don't care about karma. Because I honestly didn't care who lived or who died.
Yeah, I mean, the only one you even are really wanting to like is Caitlin, played by Kourtney Bell, and she's fine in it, but there's just so they go out of their way to do this really strong intro, right? This really strong intro that has this very devastating event in her life, and like Crystal said, her character doesn't really build on that. I mean, it's referenced and it comes up, but our character, it just didn't work, right? It didn't have the weight and it didn't bring us into the character, I think, the way the film wanted it to. Yeah,
I agree. Oh, I completely agree. I mean, they showed nothing after that scene except for her being on with her life. You have no reference to her to much going on until she speaks to the therapist through half the movie, and then you're like, oh, okay, so they're trying to say that she's seeing stuff because she died back then. That was clearly not obvious, and maybe they made that scene to try to make the movie make sense because it's silly.
Yeah. I did like Jeremy Holm, who played the detective.
Oh yeah, I love him. Wasn't he in House of Cards?
I
I
think he
love
was.
that
I think
dude.
he
Yeah, I
was.
think he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the acting was good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think she did a great job. I think that the two lead dudes also did well, the boyfriend and the brother. I think that they were fine, and who you mentioned, I think that they carried their way. And the other chick, actually toward the end, at the end scene, she was actually really good there.
Yeah,
The
with the twist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with Jeremy, there's a film he did called The Ranger, and he was the Ranger, and I really love that.
Oh
film.
yeah, he was the Ranger. That's right.
Yes. Oh man, I'm glad you brought up the boyfriend because I found him. He wasn't poorly acting, but he was horribly annoying character,
Dull.
and the whole red herring. Sorry, small spoilers there with him. Just rubbed me the wrong way in a lot of ways. His character rubbed me the wrong way. That because
he seemed like a douche.
well, and the exposition he ended up giving was a little heavy-handed, and
Yeah.
and
And he's a dirty, rotten traitor.
well, he's yeah.
I mean, really? Let me tell you this. My man goes and tells someone my mental health business, and that is the day things are going to go down.
Yep. There's like a kick to the balls coming. Dave, okay, so one of the things we like about Final Destination, and maybe it's unfair to compare it because it isn't a Final Destination film. It isn't.
It is not.
Really, but
it's just very similar.
It is very similar. That's not. I don't think it's unintentional. Okay, so the kills were usually really whacked out and crazy, and,
very inventive. Yes,
and these aren't necessarily right.
No, not really, not at all.
Is that a problem or is that a strength for this film?
I think it's probably a problem with it. It plays into what Crystal's saying with the story. This is a very story-driven tale, and the story's just not strong. So therefore, the film isn't strong, and there's really not any. I'm trying to think if there was any standout special effects in this, and there really isn't. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think I am.
No,
I don't think there's
because
really
let me tell you
anything-
this: the my favorite scene. What? I don't know.
No, you're gonna have to dig hard. You gotta dig hard.
I mean, there's not a lot. Again, going back again, maybe unfairly to the Final Destination movies. They always had these elaborate setups. I always think of the one with the lawnmower. Remember the one with the lawnmower?
Oh yeah.
The guy out cutting the grass, and the kids are in the beauty shop, and all this shit happens, and Lily ends up, getting her eye put out from the lawnmower across the street. But they kind of made sense, and they were fun to watch unfold. We really don't get much here. We get the crow as a harbinger of something bad about to happen, right?
Yeah, that was I guess that was basically, so I guess that was their premonition, kind of thing. I could, yeah. It just doesn't, this doesn't have the payoff that Final Destination did.
Yeah. Now, the beginning of it had me. I invested. I will say it starts off strong. I thought
I would agree with that
because it also builds on this idea that there's this unexplained, irrational anger in people where they strike out. That it has like school, violence and street violence. It has all kinds of rioting kind of things, and it really gets into where people just burst with anger. And
call it what it is, Doc. Call it what it is.
What is it?
It's Trumpancy.
So I have to agree with you. I think the basic premise is a brilliant concept. I love the idea of that. I love the idea that these bystanders are going to get what they deserve. I love that because I think that's messed up. I think it's BS that people do this and that they film it. That part I love.
Yeah, I like it too. And there was this because one guy comes out of nowhere, right? He just comes out of nowhere. It just feels like, okay, there's something going on. And I kind of like that thread that there's some driving force to kind of instigate these issues. And they're, it doesn't go anywhere. And maybe that's me trying to read more into it than, is there. or I'm hemming and hawing.
Well, it showed signs of maybe going somewhere too. And again, I don't know how spoilery we want to get.
We don't want to get spoilers.
Okay, so speaking very vaguely, when the person who calls out the people who did nothing begins to side with her, I thought, oh, okay, things are going to get interesting now.
Yes.
But that even kind of goes.
It does kind of go. That's about right. And it's I think maybe the wind was taken out of the sails a little too much. It was their herring was a little too red, maybe.
Right. It could be, it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Because there is an aspect to it that promised a lot more than it delivered, but I don't know. It does have a very, getting there is there's some awkwardness, but I thought that the ending had enough ties, it tied it up to a conclusion that, they obviously knew from the beginning. So it wasn't like, a hack ending. It was like, okay, I see where you were going all along. And I like that. But unfortunately it's a little too late by that time for me. And, but I really wanted to like this because, like you said, the actors are good. The idea, the concept is good. The direction is really strong. It just isn't quite enough.
Not quite enough.
It just seemed like the story needed to be fleshed out further, or there needed to be someone else brought in to help guide it, because I feel like it was pieced together.
Well, I think you were close that you didn't really care about the other characters because they're ancillary. They're not really, like other films have them as all friends or a group, and they all have a common thread, with this event, but you really don't get to know the other characters. So there's no there's no investment. You're not really invested. And I think that's, if there was a strong investment there, if we got to know this group sooner, and we got to know, and there was some ties between them, or some either a strong conflict or a strong connection, I think we would have been a little bit more invested in the rest of the ride. So it's kind of like a close, but not really.
Well, they discuss some things that happened to them in their lives based on this, but we don't see it. Like, we don't ever see her and her child that well, we do see him briefly, and some woman coming up and like spitting on her, which was ridiculous. Once again, when the moments that are trying to be, I guess, the moments where you feel for these characters, it's like, really? Yeah, no, it doesn't.
All right. Well, strong beginning, fairly strong ending. The burger in the middle wasn't all that beefy. All right, so let's do it. Let's wrap things up. But this is what you stuck around for. We want to give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. This is what you want to wait for. This is the cool part. But before we do, please hit the subscribe button down below so you can hear the rest of our reviews. Hit the like button or the dislike button.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get dislikes on this.
I'm pretty sure. I have a feeling that Jeffrey Reddick isn't our friend.
Don't hate us. So
we
a lot of people will like this. It's just I'm very picky and I have very high expectations.
Yes. So if you do like this, we do want to hear from you. And if you don't like it, we want to hear from you too. We just want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. And for those who have, give us some comments before. Thank you so much. All right, let's do this. Oh my. Dave, you're up first. What is your final thoughts? Your score 1 to 5 and your favorite scene.
Well, as we tend to do, I think we've pretty much nailed this one on the head. It's certainly got its flaws, but it's not a horribly made film by any stretch of the imagination. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Just because it's adequately made. There was definitely some story issues, and I think we touched on all those. No need to repeat them. And actually, my favorite scene is going to be the actual opening of the film. I think the strongest part of this movie is the first 5 minutes of it.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it. But from the time she wakes up in her bed to the Mickey Mouse pancakes to what happens after that is all really strong and actually had me hopeful. And then it just never really lives up to those first 5 minutes. That's it. I really don't have too much else to say about this. I don't want to piss on it too much because it's not that bad.
I'm totally with you. Agreed.
No, don't piss on your pickle. All right.
No
right. No. Wow. Crystal, you're up next. Give it to us.
Okay, so I completely agree with Dave. I know that it may seem like I kind of tore this a new one, but the reality is it's not a bad movie. I watched the whole thing. I wasn't bored. I just had some real issues with some character decisions and some story points that were tragically bad in the middle of some good things. So I actually was going to give it a 2.75. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and stick with. I know.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I can see, I guess when you have a movie that could be something more, it's just disappointing when they make certain decisions. That's all. It could have been really good though. And my favorite scene it's got to be the end scene. It's in the hospital. Like that was
the stinger.
that really was. I think she did a great job there, and I was like, yeah.
It was a good stinger. It
Yeah.
almost to the point of saving everything. Yeah.
Because that really did help. I was like, oh, that's good. He was a booty head.
My goodness, a booty head. All right. Okay, I think I expressed that. While I thought it had a great premise and a great ending, a great beginning, and the ending, the sweet ending that Crystal just mentioned. In between, it lost me a lot of times. I came back in and I'd fall back out of being interested. I wasn't bored, like you said, so I did enjoy it from that perspective. But I just don't think it just didn't deliver the punch. The investment that scare. I wasn't worried for anybody. I knew what was going to happen, right? But even if I knew what was going to happen, I still want to be concerned and pent up. I want my stomach in a knot, right? And that didn't get there. So that's a hard sell. At the same time, I do think there's an audience for this. There's going to be a lot of people that are really going to enjoy this, and I hope you listening are one of them. So there you go. Ironically, I had written down a 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. We're all in the same area.
So go with that. But like I said, I think it's the premise that and the quality of the filmmaking. I mean, it is a legit film, and it just a couple beats. So my favorite scene, you guys took both of them.
Because that's the best 2 scenes.
Yeah. So I will go. Oh my gosh, where can I go with? I think I'm going to go with just before that, with the other twist. And
okay, yeah, the twist that's not a twist.
The twist that it's it might not be a twist, but it is the untwist. Come on, guys. At the same time, I enjoyed it. Right, it was satisfying. It went where it felt like it was a reward. It went where it was. I mean, it went where it was designed, where it was supposed to go. There was no flaw there. And it kind of brought in with the confrontation. It brought in this element to make you think a little past what was actually happening there. And I like that. And I kind of wanted. I found myself wishing that a certain other character would suddenly appear in some form. I'll tell you guys after the show who character I was like. You guys probably know, but at the same time, it didn't matter. It was satisfying, and I didn't think we were going to get another shot of that character. Let's put it that way. All right, so there you go. There's our review of Don't Look Back. It is out on VOD right now. Check it out. Let us know what you think. If you like Final Destination and the films like that, this is this is going to be one for you.
Up your alley.
Well, I didn't know where you're going there for a hot second. Like, Dave, did I offend you? All right. If you're still watching, thank you so much. If you subscribe, thank you. Dave, Crystal, thank you for joining me. I had so much fun.
Thanks for
Same
having
here.
us.
Thanks, Doc.
All right. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.